Okay, see, I unmuted myself. Good evening and welcome to this edition, episode 7 of Ask Andrew Anything on Email Marketing. Okay, let's see. We've got some few people already on. Tiago, hi. Good evening. And let me see, what do we have? Okay, you have some questions. Okay, cool. So before we answer Tiago's questions, maybe just a quick introduction if you're still new to me. And let me see whether I can actually run this. There you go. All right. And maybe we should do this. Just found out there's some cool stuff that you can do here. So my name is Andrew, and my business, or what I do, is I help businesses build deeper relationships with their prospects and customers, so that through emails, obviously, so that selling becomes effortless, as an easier, because you're dealing with people who know, like, and trust you. And next one is, so what I do every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Malaysian time, which is GMT plus 8, I answer your questions or email questions in 20 minutes or less, or within 30 minutes or so. Any questions they may have, and I'll do my best to answer them. So if you have any questions, you can always submit your questions here. You just need to get your phone, scan the barcode, and we'll lead you to a Google form. And nothing much to fill, basically just your email, and then you can just fire off your questions. I will get it on my email, and I will prepare the answers and and answer them every week. All right. So I come online every Wednesday. So let's answer Tiago's question. Here you go. So for you, what's the number one need or problems that company have when looking for email marketing solution? Interesting. Let me see anything else. Okay. This is a very broad question, my friend. Okay, let's try this way. If somebody would ask me, I would basically go back to the most basic or fundamental and say, basically what you want to do with your email marketing. Okay, I have customers who are, let's say, in e-commerce. Now, in their case, they basically want to tie as much as possible to the e-commerce system. And, there are tools or there are software that are specifically for e-commerce. For example, you have like Klaviyo, you have like, what was this? Omnisoft or Omnishare, that is dedicated for it. Why? Because they build in templates for you. So you have your abandoned cart templates, you have, your browse abandonment and all those things. So it's easier for you to onboard, and most of them are easily so-called integrated, already pre-integrated with stuff like Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, and all those things. So all the major commerce platforms is already well integrated. Plus, you will also notice now they have also added, for example, component like SMS. So you have emails and SMS. So that's one segment of it. On the other hand, there are, for example, larger brands, and they have huge inventories, right? For example, like fashion brands and all those things. Those may want to then go for example, even vendors like SAP would have a solution which is integrated to CRM, so they can actually basically, the emails could be then tied to, for example, inventory, and it can display, for example, units that's available and all those things. So that's the other side of it. Then obviously you have, for example, sales related. So CRM, then you have Salesforce and their so-called associated service called Pado. And that ties in with, basically, you can do lead scoring and all those things. So to answer your questions, hopefully you can always type in the comment section. It all boils down to exactly what you need before you look at solutions. There are a lot of solutions that's available out there, but it has to fit. For certain, for example, there are certain designer kind of brands or so-called design houses. They want to have some fancy HTML kind of design that they want to control and all those things. Then they need to look for example, email solutions that allows them to import external HTML design. Those are like heavy coders. They like to code their emails. Unlike us, for example, for me, I mostly use, like 99% of the time, I use plain text. So I'm not bothered about templates or even design, but basically I use plain text. So I would want, for example, in my case, I would want a simple system that allows me to segment my users, can allow me to do a simple forms or even, a landing page. And they can integrate for example, like Wix and all those things. And that's it. That's good enough for me. And then I will look at the cost. So I hope I've answered your question, Tiago. Thanks for asking. So if you have any questions, just type in the comment section. I should be able to pick it up. I go live on LinkedIn and Facebook. Facebook is through my friend Jason's Facebook group, and also on YouTube. All right. Okay. So let's see. Let's look at. Okay. Let's go back to. I've got some who actually shared. So asked their questions earlier. So I'm going to address this first. Let me see. Can you see that? Okay, let's play this. All right, cool. So let's look at this question. Okay, so Justin is asking, how can I grow my newsletter subscriber list organically? Which means Justin may not want to run ads, and he's probably going to use stuff like social media and all those things. So talking about social media, my friend Bob actually shared a post by Brian Dean from Backlinko. He is the SEO guy. And here, okay, there you go. So he actually made a post on LinkedIn, which I found very interesting, and I want to share with you on this, Justin, that, he has built 2 newsletters with 100K subscribers and more. That's huge, right? So he suggested a simple strategy. Basically, look at his homepage and look at the About page. Now, his argument is basically say the About page is when somebody is interested in you and they want to know more about you. Naturally, they will go to your About page to find out more, to try to basically understand you better, right? So what he's suggesting is, in that About page, right, he can then basically put a form, or basically put a form that allows you to sign up for his newsletter. So it makes sense because the audience are primed, they want to know more, and naturally there's an avenue for them now to actually sign up to basically get more information. So let's look at his website and see how he actually does it. Now, how he actually does it, right? So I'm going to move this. Okay, that happens when you're operating alone and you're trying to do so many things at the same time. There you go. Let's look at this. All right. So this is basically Brian's. Let me see. Okay. So this is basically Brian's website, Backlinko, and you notice at the first top, in this case, he actually have a form, and this is the call to action, right? Which is basically get exclusive SEO tips, right? That I only share with my email subscribers. Now, a lot of people, this one I want to touch upon. A lot of people, when they want to encourage people to sign up for their newsletter, for example, they just use the generic one. Sign up to get updates. I mean, who want to do that, right? Your email box is already full. So, but you got to give them a strong call to action. Give them something that they really want, so that they'll sign up. Otherwise, you just say sign up for updates. Nobody's going to sign up, and you've just wasted that space. So in Brian's case, makes sense. So it's going to have that. So this is one area on the main page itself. So as you scroll down, obviously you have, and then this is what I would call a link magnet, right? He could publish, he publishes some really mean reports, right? Mean in the sense that, it's like 10,000 words or something, really deep reports. And those things can actually be used, for example, as a link magnet. So this is another way of using link magnet to attract newsletters to it, right? Very likely then, he could even, if you have a report for SEO, he could have a group or segment the users based on this. So if, let's say, for example, on website design, or maybe even copywriting, he would have another segment. So now, by virtue of using link magnets, he can actually segment the users upfront. And from then on, when he have any offers, or when he have any related content to, let's say, SEO, he will be sending to the SEO group. If it's copywriting, he'll be sending to the copywriting group. Okay, so let's look at what he says about his About section. So I'm going to go to his About section. And there you go. So this is about him. And you will see here's another one, right? So he's basically, doing exactly what he's recommending. So if I look at Brian, if I'm new to him, I'm looking at his content and it says, wow, these are, there's a big name comments and all those things. It talks about Backlinko. I think this is another so-called testimonial or so-called social proof. And if I like what he says, and at the bottom, he has all these big names there. So obviously, if I'm learning about SEO or I'm interested in SEO, I would want to get more information from him. So it becomes a natural push, and it makes sense in the sense that he actually have this on his about page, right? So you have this again, right? So you have multiple so-called points. So this is the middle tier, and then you have one at the bottom that you can actually sign up for his newsletter. Okay. Oh, there you go. So Justin, I hope I've answered your questions. Okay. Let's move on. Any other comments? No. Okay. Just a minute. I'm going to cough. Too much coffee. Right. So Anusha is asking, what content should I fill my email or newsletter with? How do I do this? How do I answer your question this way? Okay, let's try this. Anusha, I'm going to share screen, and this time I'm going to try this screen, and I'm going to do this. Wait. Stop screen. Share screen. There you go. All right, cool. So let's try to answer this. Your question is what sort of content that you want to put into for your newsletter. Okay, as in anything with marketing, and email is also one form of marketing. Is we always put the reader in the middle of whatever we do, even in sales, right? Because if you're just worried about pushing your own product, people will be turned off. But if you look at from the angle of the reader, or from the angle of the prospects, from the angle of the customer, what are they looking for? What are the things that they are interested in? You'll be able to be speaking, basically you'll be able to speak in their language, and basically in a better position to communicate your value proposition to them better, all right? So let's say if I'm in B2B, B2C, right? For example, personal coaching, or basically a solopreneur, for example, or service provider, okay? So I'm putting the reader in the middle. Then I'm going to look at basically these three questions, right? What are their pain? What are their problems? And what are their fears? So this is one angle that, once I know this, I can write about it, okay? I can talk about the pains, the fears, their basically their problems in my email. So, and then obviously when you talk about it, you may want to provide solutions, or you may want to provide guidance, for example, okay? So that's one way of filling contents for your email, if you're in that niche, right? The next thing is obviously they have aspirations as well, okay? So you want to share about that, right? Talk about the aspiration and basically share how else or how you can actually help them, or basically through your emails inspire them to actually reach where they want to go, okay? And finally, then you'll be looking at, for example, stuff like maybe there's a gap. Oops, where is it? Maybe there's a gap, right? From where they are to where they want to be. So this gap, it could be time, it could be money, it could be many things, right? It could be skills. So for example, in my newsletter, I write about email marketing for the B2C and B2B, for example. And what I do is basically I talk about the skill sets of writing emails. We'll talk about, for example, address some issues about fears and problems. And then I can mix around with aspiration, So These are the so-called the combination that you can actually use to inspire ideas for you to write your content. Now, let's say now you are in B2B, same thing, right? So if you are in B2B, you will still have your customers will still have their wants and their need. From the corporate basis, there's a corporate want and corporate need, and even from the person who's making the decision itself, he or she would have that need, because end of the day, for example, if they are a project manager, he or she wants to get the job done. Number one. Number two is wants to get the job done. He or she wants to get the job done so that they stand a chance to be promoted or maybe be given even more high profile projects to manage. So that's two different things, the company aspects and what. So you can actually write these two, okay? And then obviously there's an aspiration side of it. And same thing, there's a gap in skills. They want to achieve some productivity enhancement, for example, they want to increase productivity. What are issues that they face? So depending on the niche or depending on the business that you are in the B2B, you can use the same format to actually write this. And it's not necessary just to start off with your products or even services. Because what you're doing now, you're putting it makes sense for you and it's more appealing to the reader because I'm putting them right in the middle of whatever I do. Okay? So that's one way of doing it. So let's say now, okay, Andrew, I'm in a B2 e-commerce, e-commerce space, for example. Okay, what do I do? What do I write? So in e-commerce space, then obviously you have customers, right? People who bought from you. Okay. And then you would have, for example, the opposite side of it, non-customers. Oh, my writing is crap. Let me try this again. Non-customers. Okay. Then you basically have, what is this? People who bought, who shop for your products online, but they didn't complete the purchase. So you have the standard one, abandoned cart. Okay. And then you would have, obviously, people who buy very often with you, so-called your VIPs. And finally, you have people who are not interested. Right? I don't know why they're on your list if they're not interested, but maybe, initially they are, but along the way, tastes have changed and all the things. So that's possible. So what do you write for all these 5 categories of users? So if I want to write, for example, and this is where you segment your users to read, because when customers, they are a different group. Non-customers, people are in but did not buy, for example, and then abandoned cart is very clear. So those are the triggers. So if you use an email system that is catered for e-commerce, for example, to answer Tiago's earlier question is, they will have all these things set up. And basically, once you do the integration with Shopify and those things, you actually see all this. And then you can build automation tied to each one of them. Okay. So your automation, your emails, for example, if I'm customer, I will obviously want to send, let's say, new stuff to them. Okay. Could be related to what they buy, could be associated or within the circle of the products that they buy. I can also talk about maybe education, how to use the products. All right. So if it's a big ticket item, you can actually do that. And then I could even run promotions, right, to get them to buy more or to get them to buy more often. Right. Then non-customers, then I may want to do, for example, like, maybe some time sensitive offers, right? I could also add new items to them. Okay. Abandoned cart, basically I can do reminders. I can do same thing. I can use time sensitive offers, right, to get them back in. I normally won't encourage too much discounts because over time your customers or your prospect kind of know they will purposely go and abandon the cart, knowing very well that they're going to receive an email for a discount, right? Then in the end, it's going to affect your what you call it, your margins, right? So if unless you do time sensitive, maybe 30 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, maybe you can try that. All right. VIPs, obviously, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them exclusive content. Right? I'm going to give them early access. Okay. So recently I saw an ad by Nike. They have this members only kind of what. So they have special merchandise, for example. They have members only merchandise. So those things are basically for the VIPs, right? Non-interested, I think that's straightforward. You basically either you can ask them to do a survey, but if they are not interested, chances are they won't open your emails. Or you basically send me, like the injections, 9-letter words, did I miss anything? Right? You can do something like this. Right? Did I miss anything? And then just to trigger a simple one for them to respond back. If they don't, or, the next thing is you can unsubscribe them. Right? No point of them staying in, because if they want, they'll see your ads. Obviously, if you're e-commerce, you probably run ads as well. And if they find something that's useful, they can always, subscribe back. But all of this is still the reader in the middle. Okay? But you then cater according to the categories that they are in. All right? So make sense? Okay. So let me jump through this. Just give me a minute. I'm more different. Okay. Okay, Anusha, hope I answer your questions. Any other comments from the side? So if you have any, if you're watching this, or if you are watching the replay, and by the way, the e-commerce, I get a lot of inspiration from a gentleman called Chase Demon. One of even the presentation, for example, he also shared a lot because he specializes in e-commerce email. So even for e-commerce, even for email writers, for example, we do have certain level of specialization. And Chase is excellent when it comes to e-commerce. So you can check it out on his profile. And yeah, so thanks, Chase, for the idea. And I think, I hope you guys will also learn something from here. So with that, let me go to the next one. For me, if you are interested to know more, or basically, without, directly interacting with me, and you feel that, it's kind of awkward because I don't know this guy very well, but I just want to check him out, you can also sign up for my, I've got basically two newsletters. One is dedicated for B2B, and the other one is for B2C. Each one, the reason why there are two separate newsletters, because the way we approach emails for industries are different. Okay. For B2B is different. For B2C is also slightly different. And as always, you can always unsubscribe. If you don't like what you read, fine. You can always unsubscribe, cost you nothing. And recently, I've just launched daily subject lines. And basically, this is an idea because sometimes even for me, when I write, I do have issues coming up with subject lines or cool subject lines, right? And because subject lines is very important in terms of getting people to actually open your email. So even you have the best content in your email, and if you and your readers do not open the email or don't find it interesting enough, or not very clear, or basically what you're trying to say in your email, they will very likely they don't open the email, right? On average, like I say, people receive between 80 to even 120 emails a day. So you are competing for attention, all right? So your subject line is the first port of call for your readers to basically decide whether they should or should not maybe open later your email, right? So with that, I actually came up with the idea of writing an email subject line idea a day. So if you subscribe to this, it's free, and every day I will just send you an email subject line. I will have the subject line and also preview text, and basically some context as to why and how you can use this particular subject line. And and feel free to basically edit, change, or basically inspire you to have your own subject line from there, right? Sometimes subject lines can also trigger, in Justin's case or in Anusha's case, sometimes subject lines can also trigger ideas for your emails. So I do that, and you're going to get one email a day or one subject line a day for the next 365 days. So 3 ways for you to basically get in touch or get an idea what I do, and without any pressure. So I call it basically no pressure, free resource. Okay. So any other things? All right. We are into minute 27. So there you have it. You ask Andrew anything. I go on live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. GMT plus 8 Malaysia time. And it's on, if you can watch me on Facebook and LinkedIn or even YouTube. It's available, and the recorded version is there, so you can watch the replay. And any questions you want to ask, you can. Let me put this screen up again. Oops. Okay, great. Let me put this screen up again. Okay, let's share this. Press the wrong button. There you go. So any questions you want to ask, you can basically scan this code. Why is this here? Oh, sorry. I shouldn't be. Oh, there you go. All right. And fill up the Google form. And next week, I will answer your questions. All right. So with that, where's my mouse? So with that, have a good evening. And thank you so much. And I'll see you next week. This is Andrew Wong signing off. Cheers.